with things, and then when you go, you go. So that also tells me that one of her parents was more tolerant than the other. No? Maybe they were less tolerant, but there's definitely a swing in tolerance.
Maybe I don't know one of them.
Okay. Why don't you two switch? Okay. All right. Now look at the difference of the two. Her name's Rosie. Now look at Rosie's eyes. Don't you get a feeling of it's more like now, more energy, a little bit, I'm not saying you're intense, but a little bit more intense. What I'm saying is more, you feel there's more energy there. And then as you look, it looks a little bit more relaxed and definitely laid back. And here we have another laid back individual by the looks of it. But I'd have to switch you two. Okay. I think you have the widest set eyes. I think you have another, you're another. This is a British thing. I say he's a swinger, but what it means is.
Stephen.
But here's another one who is very tolerant, puts up with things, and then when you go, you go. Yeah. Notice how close his eye is to the center of the nose in that eye. See that? And so it relates to the differences in your parents. Whereas your eyes are more even. They're a little bit wider apart. But they both look very relaxed, don't they? No worries, no problems. Okay, now
Did you smoke before you got here?
I get you two to sit down. And then you two stand next to each other. There we go. Now see the difference between? Very close set. I'd have to measure it, but it looks like you may have, there's a lot of you here. You may have a little bit of difference too. I'm seeing a difference from one eye to the other. I didn't bring a ruler with me, but she definitely has closer set eyes. One is very close set, also than the other. Thank you. Okay, so we're on, but I don't think we're working either.
Yes, we're volume up.
Are we working?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's the difference between a wide set and a close set eyes. So let's give them applause for coming. And oftentimes you see in sports, a lot of your tennis players, golfers, volleyball players, all have close set eyes focused on the ball. I gave a talk in San Francisco to over 200 dentists, and I had 200 beady eyes looking at me. It was very uncanny. And I went out with other groups, like, oh, the Little League in Petaluma, they were, yes, very successful, and they showed all the photographs there in the Argus Courier, and they all had cut out ears, which means controlling the ball. So next time you go,
Bumgarner too.
next time you go see look at a baseball game, look at how many of them have close eyes and cut out ears. Good at focusing on the ball and controlling it. And Andy Roddick has that trait for those of you who watch tennis. Anyway, that's the close and the wide set eyes. The next one we'll go to, which I think is important, is the eyelid. When the eyelid is more exposed, these people want you to get to the bottom line. Never mind all the questions, just get to the bottom line. So sometimes you can interrupt people, finish off their sentence for them, because you've got a sense of where they're going. Let's just go, more action driven. Come on, let's go, what are we waiting for? Whereas this gentleman's going to ask question after question after question. And then some, you should see the expression on his face. And so very, very analytical, and then he questions everything. Prove it to me. Give me the evidence. Back it up. Look, yeah, just got that from your face. Even then, it wouldn't prove anything to him. I had to do his whole face. So when you see somebody with more exposed eyelid, they know where you're going. They got the idea, they just don't want all the details. Come on, let's go, let's do it now. I think you have the more exposed eyelids. And you often see it in the female gymnasts and the volleyball players. In the Olympic Games, they all had exposed eyelids. And it's very action-driven, isn't it? And so sometimes you can be on the phone, and like this man called me up one day and said to me, I thought he wanted to know what I did, and I started explaining. He said, I know what you do, Naomi, I just want to make an appointment. And they're very rapid, they talk to me just like that. they hurry you up. And anyway, I thought, oh, exposed eyelids, make an appointment. He comes in and sure enough, there he is. But it just tells you how people, what their expectations are. For those of you who have exposed eyelids and can relate to what I'm saying, just say to them, your client, look, I can see you've got a lot of questions, can we go with the most important ones first? For those of you who are more analytical, just tell them, we need to cover this, it's important to cover it because, otherwise you're missing out on something. And it helps you to understand where your client's coming from. And so you can address it, as soon as you see them. So that's the covered eyelids and exposed eyelids. Now there are degrees of this. And you will, like when I was in the hospital, I was just visiting somebody, I knew their family member, I noticed a lot of the people in the emergency units all had the more exposed eyelids. Come on, let's go, let's do it now. And it's interesting just to see the patterns. It's absolutely fascinating. So that's the exposed eyelids and the covered eyelids. Now, let's see, look around here and let's see those. Yes, you're going to have a lot of questions, I can tell. And you're a little bit more the bottom line. Come on, it's not as much as, say, the more exposed eyelids. Yeah, you like to move on it too. It's like, come on. Very, very creative with that. When I see people's faces, I immediately see the abilities that are there, and it is just fascinating. Anyway, if you look, if you look around the table, let me see your eyelids. Oh yes, come on, let's go, let's do it now. Very action. Would you mind standing up and taking off your cap and showing everyone your eyelids? Now, not only that, do you see how his nose comes down a little bit? He wants you to get to the bottom line, but you've got to prove it to him first. Question things. It's like the question, yes. Give me the evidence, show me that it works, prove it to me.
Just like with you right now.
Oh, I can tell. Why do you think I picked you? So he wants the bottom line, but with the nose, when it comes down at the end, there's a few of you like that, they want you to prove things to them. They're not going to accept things at face value. And even when you show them the evidence or how it all works, you still have to satisfy him. But enough that he says, okay, I've got it, let's go. So once you understand something, you can move on. Yes, thank you very much. So that's the exposed eyelids. Yes, let's give him an applause. He enjoys that because he likes the theatre. So it's like being on stage. We like that. Those are the eyelids. And I'd like to also talk about the shape of the forehead. Where are we doing here in time? Okay. Because the foreheads are very important. It's how you explain information to people. When the forehead, as you look at somebody from the side profile, they like the information to be presented to them step by step by step by step. If you rush ahead with them, they will not get it. If they miss out a piece of the information, their mind goes blank. I've worked with students from all over the world who have with this trait, who had a really time passing exams. The parents have sent me the photographs, and I've sent back the results saying they tend to panic at exam time. And that what you need to do is to play music, either in their heads or have some earphones. Every one of the students I've worked with who have this trait have gone to the top of their class and signed up for university. And yet before that, they had been considered to be slow learners. So it's mislabeled at school, just as you have a lot of mislabels ADD. A lot of those kids are actually very energetic and they need to get into sports, and then it takes care of the problem instead of yet another pill.
Amen.
You had a question?
Yes, I must be a slow learner because I don't know what the shape of the forehead I'm supposed to do.
It's not a slow learner, it's just a straight up and down. It's a straight up and down. Look, okay, you want one? There you go.
But I couldn't visualize what you were asking.
Whereas, I'll use you again if you don't mind. See how face that way.